whisper that shook the stars. The great hall of the alien palace was filled with light. Tall crystal walls glowed with energy that seemed alive, pulsing with every breath of the Empire's heart. The nobles of the alien court stood in silence, dressed in their shining robes. Their eyes glowed faintly, marking them as children of the stars. At the very center of the hall stood the alien princess. She was not like the others. Her beauty was calm, almost dangerous, as if the universe itself had carved her face. She stood tall, her silver crown shining, her long hair flowing like rivers of starlight. Every noble bowed their heads when she moved. Every warrior dropped to one knee when she passed. She was untouchable, unreachable, sacred. And in the corner, among the servants and the prisoners of war, stood one human. He was ordinary compared to the towering aliens. His clothes were rough, his face tired from labor. No one in the hall cared to look at him. To them, he was less than nothing. He was just another human. But his eyes never left the princess. He had seen her from afar many times, but today something inside him burned stronger than ever. It was foolish, it was dangerous, it was impossible. But the words rose in his throat like fire, and before he could stop himself, he whispered, "I wish I had the chance to wed her." The words were soft, almost carried away by the hum of the palace energy. But fate has a strange way of carrying whispers to the ears they are not meant for. A guard standing near him turned, his alien eyes narrowing. The guard laughed, cruel and sharp. "What did you say, human?" the guard sneered. His voice carried across the hall, and suddenly the silence of the court broke. Heads turned, eyes locked onto the human. A wave of laughter rippled through the nobles. "Did he say, wed her?" one alien mocked. "A human dreaming of our princess?" Absurd. Other jeered. Pathetic. The human's face turned red. His heart pounded as the laughter grew louder. He wanted to sink into the floor, to vanish. He had made a mistake, one that could cost him his life. For to speak of the princess in such a way was forbidden. It was blasphemy. But then, silence. The hall went quiet, as if the air itself had frozen. The nobles stopped laughing. Even the guard stopped moving. The human slowly lifted his eyes, fear clutching his chest. The alien princess was looking at him. Her gaze was not angry. It was not cruel. Her eyes, deep and endless as the night sky, locked onto his. She took one step forward, her gown flowing behind her. The sound of her heels echoed in the hall like thunder. The nobles gasped. Some tried to protest, but none dared to speak louder than a whisper. The human could not breathe. His whisper had reached her. She was walking toward him. Every second stretched into eternity. He thought she would punish him. He thought she would call the guards. He thought his life was over. But instead, the princess stopped just a few feet away. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Her head tilted slightly, as if studying him, not as a servant, not as a human, but as something more. The human's legs shook. He wanted to look away, but he couldn't. Her presence was overwhelming. It was like standing in front of a star. The nobles murmured among themselves, "This cannot be. She cannot look at him. Why does she not turn away?" The silence grew heavier. The tension wrapped around the hall like chains. And then, something happened that no one expected. The alien princess opened her mouth. Her voice was soft, gentle, but it carried like music through the entire palace. She said one word, "Yes." The human's heart nearly stopped. His eyes widened. Did she answer him? Did she say yes to the whisper? The court erupted. Shouts filled the hall. Some aliens cried out in horror, others in disbelief. The emperor's advisors shouted for order. The guards raised their weapons, unsure if they should strike the human down or wait for command. But the princess did not move. She stood tall, calm, her gaze never leaving the human. That single word had shattered the balance of power. That single word had turned the universe upside down. The human's whisper, spoken in fear and longing, had reached the heart of the most powerful woman in the galaxy. And with her one answer, she had set fire to destiny. Suspense filled the air. Would she defend her word? Would the Emperor arrive to strike them both down? Would the guards execute him at once? Or was this the beginning of something far greater? The human did not know. All he knew was this: his life had changed forever, and so had the fate of two worlds. The yes that changed everything, the word yes still echoed in the great alien hall. No one dared to believe what they had heard. The alien princess, daughter of the Emperor, heir to the throne, had spoken the forbidden word to a human, an ordinary servant, nothing more. The nobles broke into shouting. Some cried that the princess had gone mad. Others demanded that the human be executed at once. The sound of fury shook the crystal walls, yet through all the chaos, the princess stood still. Her calm smile never left her face, and her gaze remained locked on the human. The human could barely stand. His knees trembled, his breath caught in his throat. He whispered to himself, "Did she truly mean it? Or was it a cruel trick?" The guards moved forward, their weapons glowing with deadly light. One of them growled, "Bow before the princess and beg for your life, human, or your blood will stain these floors." But before he could fall to his knees, the princess raised her hand. The H. All fell silent. Even the guards froze, their weapons trembling in their grip. No one disobeyed her command, not even the fiercest warrior. She spoke again, her voice calm but filled with iron strength. "I gave my answer," she said, "and my answer is final." The nobles gasped. To defy her was to defy royal blood. To accept her words was to shatter tradition. The empire itself trembled in that moment. The human's heart thundered in his chest. He wanted to speak, to tell her that he had never meant to insult her, that it was only a foolish whisper, but the words would not come. All he could do was meet her eyes and feel a fire awaken deep within his soul. A council member, old and sharp, slammed his staff against the floor. "This is blasphemy," he shouted. "No alien princess may bind herself to a human. The Emperor will never allow this." The princess turned slowly, her silver hair glowing under the palace light. Her voice grew sharper. "The Emperor does not decide my heart." The words struck like lightning. The court erupted once more. Some shouted for her removal from the throne. Others muttered of ancient prophecies, legends that spoke of a bond between human and alien that would either unite the stars or bring endless war. The guards stepped back, uncertain. They had orders to protect the princess, yet now she seemed to be protecting the human instead. Then came the moment that changed everything. The princess walked down the shining steps of the throne dais. Each step echoed like a drumbeat of fate. The nobles watched in shock as she crossed the hall, and when she reached the human, she stopped before him, ignoring every voice of protest. She reached out her hand. Gasps filled the air. No alien royal had ever touched a human in such a way. The human stared at her hand, shaking. His thoughts screamed, "If I touch her, I am dead. If I refuse, I am lost. But if I take her hand, what will become of me?" Then came the moment that changed everything. The princess walked down the shining steps of the throne dais. Each step echoed like a drumbeat of fate. The nobles watched in shock as she crossed the hall. And when she reached the human, she stopped before him, ignoring every voice of protest. She reached out her hand. Gasps filled the air. No alien royal had ever touched a human in such a way. The human stared at her hand, shaking. His thoughts screamed, "If I touch her, I am dead. If I refuse, I am lost. But if I take her hand, what will become of me?" Slowly, trembling, he lifted his hand. Their fingers touched, and the hall erupted into pure chaos. Screams of anger, shouts of fear. Some nobles fled the room, as if expecting the skies themselves to break open. Others fell to their knees, whispering prayers to ancient gods. But the princess only smiled, her grip strong and steady. She looked at him, not as a servant, not as a prisoner, but as her equal. "You spoke with courage," she said softly, "and I answered with truth. Let the galaxy hear it. I choose you." The human's breath caught. He wanted to ask why, to beg her to explain, but the storm around them drowned out every word. The guards were torn, half raised their weapons toward him, while the others hesitated, unsure if striking him would mean betraying their princess. A voice thundered from the far end of the hall. It was deep, commanding, filled with fury. The doors to the throne chamber burst open. The alien emperor entered. Tall as a mountain, his armor forged from the core of dying stars. His eyes glowed with fire. The very floor trembled under his steps. The court bowed low, terrified, but the princess did not move. She held the human's hand tightly, refusing to let go. The emperor's voice shook the hall. "What is this madness?" No one answered. The silence was heavy as stone. The emperor's burning eyes turned to the human. Hatred poured from his gaze, sharp enough to cut. "A human dares whisper such a thing in my court? Guards, seize him!" The guards hesitated, caught between fear of the emperor and loyalty to the princess. The princess stepped forward, shielding the human with her own body. Her voice rang clear. He whispered, and I answered, "This is my choice, father." The court gasped again. Never before had anyone spoken to the emperor in such a way, not even his own blood. The emperor's fury rose like a storm. His voice roared, "Then your choice will bring war." The human's heart stopped. War? Was this the cost of his whisper? The princess did not move. Her hand never left his. Her voice was calm, steady, unshaken. Then so be it. And in that single moment, the hall knew. Destiny had been set. The whisper of one human had become a spark. The princess's yes had turned it into a flame. And now, the fire was spreading, toward war, toward chaos, toward a future no one could escape. The price of love. Across worlds, the emperor's words, "Then your choice will bring war," hung in the air like a curse. The entire hall fell silent, every noble and guard frozen in shock. The alien princess stood tall, her hand still holding the human's. She did not flinch before the wrath of her father. The human's heart pounded. He had never been so close to death. He could almost feel the emperor's fury burning into his skin. Yet, when he looked at the princess, she did not show fear. Her eyes were steady, her voice calm. "Father," she said, "you call it madness. I call it destiny." The emperor's face hardened. Destiny. This is weakness. This is betrayal. A princess of the stars binds herself to a creature of dust and soil. You shame the crown. The nobles muttered, terrified. Some whispered of ancient prophecies. Others spoke of omens. It was said long ago that the bond between alien and human would bring either peace across the galaxy or destruction beyond imagining. The emperor raised his hand. "Take the human away. His blood will end this foolish talk tonight." Guards rushed forward. The human tried to pull free, but the princess tightened her grip. She stepped in front of him, shielding him with her body. "You will not touch him," she commanded. The guards froze. No warrior dared to harm her. They looked at one another, confused, trembling. The hall became a battlefield of silence. The emperor's eyes blazed brighter. "Then you will watch as he dies," he growled. The human's breath caught in his throat. Death seemed only a heartbeat away. But then the princess spoke again, her voice like steel. "If you kill him, father, you will not only kill my chosen one, you will kill your own blood, for I will not live in a world without him." Gasps echoed through the court. The princess's words were sharper than blades. The emperor's fury trembled, but behind it came something colder. Fear, for he knew his daughter was not one to make empty threats. The old counselor stepped forward, clutching his staff. His voice was grave, heavy with warning. "My emperor, remember the prophecy. A whisper of love shall unite two worlds, or burn them both. Perhaps this is the moment foretold." The emperor's glare snapped toward him. "You dare speak of prophecy now? This is no destiny. This is a disease that must be cut out before it spreads." But the word had already spread. The nobles whispered among themselves. Fear, doubt, and curiosity grew in their eyes. That night, the human was seized and thrown into a cold cell beneath the palace. Chains bound his wrists, and shadows filled the chamber. He sat in silence, wondering if his foolish whisper had doomed not only himself, but Earth as well. Then the sound of soft footsteps echoed in the darkness. The door opened. Light spilled in, and there she was, the princess. She slipped inside quietly, her cloak covering her crown. She knelt beside him, her hands brushing the chains. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I could not stop them from locking you away, but you must not lose hope." The human looked at her, his voice trembling. "Why? Why did you say yes? You could have ignored me. You could have let me vanish in the crowd." Her eyes softened. "Because I have seen you before, the way you endure humiliation without anger. The way you work while others mock you. The way you look at the stars, as if they still belong to you. You are not like the others here. You carry something I have never seen in my people. Hope." Her hand touched his cheek, gentle but strong. "I will not let them kill you." The human's heart burned with fear and wonder. He wanted to believe her, but he knew the emperor's wrath was unstoppable. The princess leaned close, her voice low, urgent. "There is an ancient legend, older than the throne itself. It speaks of a whisper of love that will change the stars forever. Some say it will bring peace. Others believe it will bring endless war. My father fears this prophecy. That is why he wants you dead." The human swallowed hard. "Then we are doomed." But the princess shook her head. "No, we are only doomed if we surrender." Outside the cell, heavy footsteps thundered closer. Soldiers shouted orders. The princess quickly hid her face with her cloak. Before leaving, she pressed something into his hand, a small crystal, glowing faintly with hidden power. "Keep this," she said. "It will protect you when the moment comes." The door slammed shut, and she was gone. Moments later, the emperor himself entered, his massive frame filling the chamber. His voice rumbled like thunder. "Human," he spat, "because of your whisper, my empire trembles. Tomorrow at dawn, you will be executed. Your death will be the warning that no one may cross the crown, and when Earth hears of it, they will know their place." He turned to leave, but before the door closed, he added one final warning. "Your princess cannot save you. Her love will cost her everything." Moments later, the emperor himself entered, his massive frame filling the chamber. His voice rumbled like thunder. "Human," he spat, "because of your whisper, my empire trembles. Tomorrow at dawn, you will be executed. Your death will be the warning that no one may cross the crown, and when Earth hears of it, they will know their place." He turned to leave, but before the door closed, he added one final warning. "Your princess cannot save you. Her love will cost her everything." The human sat in the darkness, the crystal glowing faintly in his hand. His heart pounded. He did not know if it was a gift of salvation or the key to a doom written in the stars. War for a whisper. The night passed like a storm inside the alien palace. Word of the princess's defiance spread across the empire like fire. From the highest nobles to the lowest soldiers, everyone whispered about the human who had dared to speak, and the princess who had answered yes. By dawn, the emperor's command was clear. The human would be executed before the court, his death a warning to all. But the order carried more than punishment. It was a declaration. The emperor sent warships into the skies, their engines shaking the heavens. Armies were summoned, fleets awakened. The message was simple. If Earth resisted, the empire would crush it. In the cold dungeon, the human sat with chains biting into his wrists. The crystal the princess had given him glowed faintly in his palm, pulsing like a heartbeat. He didn't understand it, but it filled him with strange strength. The heavy doors creaked open. Soldiers entered, their armor shining with deadly light. "On your feet, human," one growled. "Your end has come." They dragged him through the grand hall where thousands of aliens gathered. Nobles, generals, and priests filled the room, their eyes hungry for blood. The execution platform stood at the center, lit by cold fire. The emperor sat on his throne, his gaze sharp as a blade. The human was forced to kneel. The executioner stepped forward, a massive alien with a blade forged from the heart of a dying sun. The weapon gleamed, ready to strike. The Emperor's voice thundered, "Let all worlds see! A whisper from a human shall never rise above the crown. Today, his blood ends this madness." The hall erupted with chants of death. The human closed his eyes, bracing for the strike. But then, silence. From the far side of the hall, the princess entered. Her gown was not the silver of royalty, but the black of rebellion. Her crown was gone, her hair unbound, flowing like a river of fire. She walked forward with steady steps, her presence stopping every voice in the chamber. "Father," she said, her voice sharp, "if his blood is spilled, you will not only kill a human, you will kill your empire." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You dare defy me here?" "I dare to tell the truth," she replied. Her voice rang louder now, echoing across the hall. "This human is not weakness. He is the spark of the prophecy you fear, and if you strike him down, the fire you unleash will burn even you." The court gasped. Some nobles whispered agreement, others hissed in anger. The army commanders looked uneasy, torn between loyalty to the Emperor and fear of prophecy. The executioner raised his blade again, but the princess stepped forward, placing herself between the human and death. The blade stopped inches from her neck. "If he dies," she said calmly, "then I die too." The chamber exploded in chaos. Shouts, screams, panic filled the air. Guards rushed forward, but some hesitated, unwilling to harm their princess. Others raised weapons at the human, only to be stopped by their comrades. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's unity cracked. The Emperor roared. His voice shook the walls. "Traitors, all of you!" But his fury only deepened the divide. In the shadows of the court, secret whispers turned into open defiance. Old wounds between noble houses came alive, alliances breaking like glass. Some sided with the princess, believing the prophecy must be fulfilled. Others remained loyal to the Emperor, ready to spill rivers of blood. And then, from the skies above the palace, a deep rumble shook the air. Warships, human warships. The chamber shook as alarms blared. Outside, Earth's fleet had arrived, answering the Emperor's threats with fire of their own. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath as alien and human ships faced each other above the palace. The Emperor stood, his armor glowing with power. "So Earth dares answer?" His voice dripped with rage. "Then Earth shall burn." But the princess raised her hand, her eyes blazing. "No, father, you do not see. This war is not against Earth. This war is against destiny itself, and destiny will not bow to you." The guards finally lunged. Blades clashed, weapons fired. The great hall turned into a battlefield. The human was pulled to his feet by a young alien soldier who whispered quickly, "The princess saved my family once. I will not let you die here. Run." But the human did not run. His eyes locked on the princess. She was surrounded, fighting with nothing but her will. Her people turned against her, yet she refused to retreat. The crystal in the human's hand pulsed brighter, glowing like a small star. Heat burned through his veins, power flooding his body. He did not understand it, but deep inside, he knew. This was no simple stone. This was the key the prophecy had spoken of. As the Emperor raised his hand to strike the princess down with his own weapon, the human shouted for the first time. His voice thundered across the hall. "Enough!" The crystal blazed with light, blinding the chamber. Every alien froze. The Emperor staggered back. His strike halted. The princess turned in shock, her eyes wide. The human stood tall, no longer trembling, the crystal burning in his grasp like the heart of a star. And in that moment, everyone realized this war would not be decided by fleets or blades. It would be decided by him. The whisper that became a legend. The crystal's light burned brighter than 1,000 suns, filling the alien throne hall with blinding radiance. Nobles shielded their eyes, guards fell back, and even the mighty Emperor staggered, his armor trembling under the force. At the center of the storm stood the human, his chains shattered, his eyes blazing with a power he did not understand. The crystal pulsed in his hand, alive, as if answering the whisper he had once spoken in silence. The princess stared at him in awe. She had always believed the prophecy, but even she had not imagined its power would awaken like this. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "You are the one, the whisper the stars spoke of." The emperor roared, his voice shaking the walls. "No human will take my throne. No prophecy will bind me." He raised his weapon, forged from the death of suns, and charged forward. The human lifted the crystal, and its light clashed with the emperor's blade. The hall exploded with energy. The floor cracked, pillars shattered, and the nobles screamed as the palace trembled around them. It was more than a fight of strength. It was the clash of destiny. The emperor struck with fury, but each blow was deflected by the crystal's blazing force. The human felt pain with every strike, his body weak compared to the emperor's might. Yet the crystal pulsed, feeding him strength beyond his limits, guiding his hands. The princess joined the fight, standing at his side. With nothing but courage in her voice, she rallied those who still believed. "Stand with me," she cried. "You stand for what is right." Half the guards dropped their weapons, kneeling before her. Others, blinded by loyalty to the emperor, fought on. The throne hall became a battlefield of loyalty and betrayal. Above the palace, the skies thundered. Human warships and alien fleets clashed, lighting the heavens with fire. Explosions shook the world as the galaxy itself seemed to split apart. The emperor's rage grew wild. "You cannot win," he bellowed. "I am eternal. I am the crown." The human's voice thundered back, filled with strength he never knew he had. "You are nothing without fear, and fear ends today." He thrust the crystal forward. Its light pierced through the emperor's armor, burning with the force of a dying star. The emperor screamed, his body engulfed in energy. For a moment, he seemed to vanish into shadow and flame. Then silence fell. The emperor was gone. The hall trembled, but the princess stepped forward, her hand finding the humans. Together, they stood where the emperor had fallen. The crystal dimmed, its duty complete, leaving only a faint glow in the human's palm. The nobles stared in shock. Some wept, others bowed. The empire had no ruler. The prophecy had come true, but not as anyone had expected. The princess raised her voice, strong and clear. "Hear me. The age of fear is over. From this day, no wall shall divide human and alien. We will rise together, not as masters and servants, but as one people." Her words echoed across the chamber, across the fleets above, across the galaxy itself. Those who had doubted bowed their heads. Those who had fought against her dropped their weapons. The war ended in silence. The human looked at her, his voice trembling. "Why me? I was just no one." The princess smiled, her eyes shining. "Because destiny does not choose kings or warriors. It chooses the one brave enough to whisper,